Good morning.
Good morning.
How many of you have ever said, I thought I would be at a different place at this point in my life? How many of you have ever thought, I'm too old to start over now? Today, I'm going to talk to you about the part of you that challenges that belief, your sacred intelligence. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule today to come and to be with others, taking time for you. Today you'll learn why you're not too old to change. Today we're going to learn why you need to change the rules if the rules are causing you to suffer. You'll get some tips and strategies on how to shift your thinking instantly. And then I'll give you some easy to follow rules to help you live your passion. May I tell you why I'm passionate about this work? I am passionate about this work because I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a psychologist, and I'm a pastor, among other things. And I know what it's like to be pulled in so many different places. I know what it's like to try to do the simple things, let alone talk about changing. And I know what it's like to be stuck in some difficult situations. I know what it's like to have the very air feeling like it's sucked out of you, like you can't breathe. So who wants to talk about change? I do, because I've had the privilege of helping people and myself tap into my inner source, my sacred intelligence that tells me that there is something more to life than the current circumstances. So a few years back, I worked with a gentleman who hated his job. When I say hated, I mean he hated his job. He would drive home from his job at night, gritting his teeth, and then he would scream and rant and rave about everything that he wished he had said in a meeting. But he lived under the assumption that if I want the life of luxury that I have, eating at nice restaurants, going golfing when I want to, traveling when I want to, then I have to suffer. I have to stay in a job that I hate. But struggling is optional. And I wish I could say that he was an exception to the rule, but in fact, many of us believe that. Many of us believe that in order for us to have what we want, in order for us to make the type of money that we want to make, we have to stay in a job that we hate. So you might be living with that invisible commandment that says, thou shalt suffer in order to be good or in order to get what you want out of life. But if following the rules leads to suffering, change the rules. Don't do something because it's what other people think that you should do. Don't do something because other people have decided what will make you happy. But changing the rules will require you to confront what's holding you back. Is it the rules of your family, your friends, your religion? Is it fear? What is it that's holding you back? What happens if you leave your job? And when I work with clients, I take them through a 3-step process to identify what's holding them back. And the first step is to identify the spoken and the unspoken rules. It's critical that you do this assessment, because when you do that assessment, it will lead to a shift in thinking. And shifting your thoughts requires you to become conscious of exactly what your thoughts are. And it requires you to become conscious of your words, the language that you use. So you might be unconsciously avoiding starting your own business because you believe that you will fail. I've heard you say it already this morning. You might believe that you're not good enough. You might be avoiding investing in an opportunity to make money, to make more money than you make now, because you're saying, if I go out on my own, I will never make it. I can't do it. And perhaps some of you are even staying in some unhealthy relationships because you feel that no one else will want you if you have the courage to leave those relationships. So shifting your thinking requires you to become conscious, but it also requires you to look at your circle of influence. You can't change your life if you hang around people who have limited thinking. There are people who have very good intentions when they're telling you, are you crazy? You can't leave your job. But that's their limited beliefs. They can't see your vision. They don't know what's been placed inside of you. And so they burst your bubble when you go to them and you're really excited about something and they tell you you can't do it. You have to know your purpose. And so I've found in myself that it's not enough for me to simply be great at what I do, because I am great at what I do. But that's not enough. I need tools and I need experts, people who understand my vision. Not only do I work with coaches, but I also work with other people, helping them to reach their goals, because we need a circle of influence that understands us. And so I want to just share this with you. If you have people in your life that are toxic and that are negative, I see some of you nodding your heads, get rid of them. You don't need them in your life. Because it's time for you to live your passion. Leave here today committed to living your passion, but you've got to be able to identify your passion. Often I'll ask people, what's your passion? And they look at me with this blank stare. Why? Because through the process of their lives, they've given up on what that original dream was for them, something that was spoken to them long ago. And so I then will say to them, tell me what brings you joy. It's a simple question, but that's how you find your passion. Tell me what brings you joy. And this process requires you to do some reflection, some deep reflection. And once you know your passions, it's important to believe that you can achieve it. And then it's important for you to set an intention. I spoke to a woman the other day who said she was going to travel and she wanted to speak in the next coming weeks. And she said, I put out an intention to speak on September 13th. So an opportunity came up for her to speak, and the person who was soliciting her to do the speaking said, there are two dates, September 13th and September 20th. She chose September 13th because she put her intentions out there. And so I've spent my life helping people to identify what their passions are. So to live your passion, though, it requires you to be open to the time and the multiple ways that your passion or dreams may be realized. So I had to take a leap of faith. And when you say yes, when the door is knocking, the sacred will open that door even wider and will put people in your life who can help you fulfill your purpose. After I completed my divinity degree at Yale, I went into private practice with another gentleman for a short period of time. And I had a woman to come and to help me because I put on women's retreats, and so she had been an intern for me, and so I had her to come and do some work with me. And she said to me one day, she had gone to this other therapist office, and she said, Terrlyn, there's some office space that's opening up. And it's going to open up in a month's time, but you could open up your own private practice there in a month's time. I have a lot of student loans. There was no way I was getting another loan. And she said, my mother said that she could be a silent partner and she could loan you some money to start your practice. So I'm open, but I'm thinking, well, exactly how much money is she going to let me have? I mean, it's going to require a lot of money. But I was open to the process. So I went and I looked at the space. Space was beautiful. Needed some work, but the space was beautiful. It's a nonprofit agency that was there. And so the director of that nonprofit agency said to me, Why don't you pick out which furniture you would like to have, what you want to keep, and we will sell it to you because, unfortunately, we have to go out of business. I said, okay. So I started making a list of all the furniture that I wanted. So there are two things I want to tell you about this story. One is when the board of directors met, they said, tell Terrlyn if she wants the furniture in the office, she has to take it all, lock, stock, and barrel. I have about 4 to 5 individual offices within my office. They were all fully furnished. I had supplies to last for a year for $1,200. Wow, exactly. But that wasn't the end of it. The woman who was allowing me to borrow the money let me borrow enough money to set me up in my practice for an entire year, interest-free, and I didn't have to pay her back for 1 whole year. I opened my practice in a month's time. I had to be open to the multiple ways that my vision could unfold. And you do too. So in our time together, you've heard how if following the rules leads to suffering, you have to change those rules. I shared with you some key components to shifting your thinking, and finally, I gave you some tips on how to live your passion. But of course, I didn't have enough time to go really as deeply as I would like to. And you can learn more about it if you choose to sign up for my free webinar that's happening in a couple of weeks where I will go deeper. But I want to also invite you to join me on an amazing journey of your life, an opportunity to give you the life that you think you can only have in your imagination. So I want you to join me for my Insight Circle, where you can have an opportunity to go deeper on those things that we talked about today and learn to choose not to struggle. Because remember, struggling is an option. Thank you.